Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Alien Earth Episode 3 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, WTF moments, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. The episode title was Metamorphosis, I think mostly a reference to the life cycle of the Xenomorphs because of what happens during the episode with them trying to implant a new chest burster inside CJ, her brother, Wendy's brother's lung. Now you wonder how they're going to explain that to him after he comes to, like, sorry bro, we had to borrow your lung for an experiment. Also, there's another Xenomorph running around the facility, so watch out for that. You could also look at the Metamorphosis title as a reference to the blood alien-sucking bugs, too, who seem more like insects, cocoon, and change into something way, way worse. We will see what happens to them eventually. Like, what is the butterfly phase of that? What are they cooking? What are they cooking? This time they do the same thing they did in episode 2, where they use the intro titles reveal to have a montage recap of the previous episodes. It's like a clever way to do a recap that most TV shows do at the beginning of all their episodes, right before the actual episode begins. This time they're trying to do that and the titles at the same time. As I mentioned in my previous episode 1, episode 2 video, they also use the same title font as the Alien movies, and the way they light up the bottom characters too, like the light shining through the bottom characters. They pick up immediately after the end of episode 2, where she told Slightly to mind the eggs, mind the omelet, making references about not breaking eggs either, because there are 6 complete alien eggs, so potentially 6 more Xenomorphs. You remember the whole idea is that Kirsch told them to go to the eggs, secure them, because they've been told to take all the specimens back to Neverland. She runs through the lower levels of the ship to reach her brother and the Xenomorph. Notice she stops briefly. You can hear the clicking, that buzzing sound that she keeps hearing when she's near the aliens. She can hear them communicating, just running around. Maybe it's just the way the Xenomorphs communicate in general, their race. She also hears it at the end of the episode when the eggs start to freak out when they're experimenting on one of the facehuggers. Although it's maybe the facehuggers that are actually the things that are alive that start freaking out, emitting that sound. Just making it seem like they're all connected in some sort of hive mind kind of situation, which makes sense with the way they portrayed the alien Xenomorphs in the previous movies, the tie-in comic books, all the tie-in media. They kind of work like an insect hive where there's a queen controlling everything. There are drones that do a lot of the work of finding more bodies, just supporting the colony in general, then the facehuggers that implant more eggs inside people in chest bursters, creating more alien drones. Probably one of the biggest questions that people were asking too after the first couple episodes is where all those eggs came from. Morrow only explains during the episode that their ship found them on a moon. He doesn't say which moon, what kind of stuff was happening on that moon, where they found them. Did they find them on some other alien craft? Was it LV-426? But the whole idea is that aliens need a queen at some point. So the question is, did the one that got implanted inside CJ's lung, her brother's lung, is that going to be a queen that comes out of that? My early assumption is no, just because we've seen more Xenomorphs in the trailers for the upcoming episodes, so it's possible that it's just another regular type of Xenomorph drone. So pretty easy assumption to make that at some point, some queen will be implanted in someone. Kirsch continues studying the logs in the ship, learning about all the different alien specimens that they collected. We know from previous episodes, but they say it again in this episode, there are 5 different species, including the Xenomorphs. The only one that we didn't see in episode 2 flying around the ship loose was the actual flying alien with wings. We see that later in this episode.
Was it worth it?
Also notice that Kirsch has to remind Toodles not to touch everything that he sees, like look with your eyes, do not touch, I think is another callback to that plant-like alien that he got dangerously close to. They also do this with the eggs later in the episode too, like watch out what you're doing near those eggs, near those other aliens too. They're all meant to be dangerous. Nibs starts to slowly freak out more and more through the episode, like she's first fascinated by the eyeball squid creature, which itself is just really fascinating in general, but also she seems like she's slowly going crazy. There was a question earlier too, which of the hybrids was going to lose it first? Because they have implied at a couple of different points that at least one or more of them will go off the rails. Who's going to be the first hybrid to completely lose it? She kind of seems like she's going to be one of the first ones. You remember that they're all meant to be prototypes, so technically this whole hybrid program is still in beta. There's still a lot of bugs, quote unquote, make as many bug references as possible to work out before it's done. She starts getting pissed off about not being able to pick her own name. She doesn't get to have a girl's name like Wendy's. The reason why Wendy gets to be Wendy, as Boy Cavalier then later talks about, is because she is special because she is the first. Also, she has this weird thing where she can hear the alien xenomorphs like in that super high frequency, so it seems like she has some special abilities that the other hybrids don't have. There are a lot of theories about this after the first couple episodes, like was she special before she got the hybrid treatment, like had her body already been altered a little bit, or is there something else that's special about her? They kind of start to get into that with the Curly storyline in this episode where she's like, no, I'm better than the other hybrids because I have ambitions that Wendy does not have. Curly also implies that she might be getting into trouble soon when she talks about Curly in the Peter Pan book always getting into trouble. Also, the Pickles name in the book might be some funny payoff later in the series. Toodles also says that he missed everything in the book. His character missed everything in the book because he always stepped off, maybe implying his own future too. Like maybe they're foreshadowing their futures on the show. When Cavalier gets pissed off at Kirsch for not watching Wendy, like I told you to watch her specifically, that's because she is currently his favorite. Wendy goes into full Terminator mode. There were also people making Blade Runner references after the first couple of episodes because of the way the synths and the things in this world work. People are wondering if Blade Runner is going to wind up being canon to the Alien and the Predator universes. You could draw some parallels to what was happening with the synths during the Blade Runner movies, but I don't know if they've officially canonized the Blade Runner movies to what's happening during this. Later during the episode, they also clarify what the names of the 5 major companies battling for control of Earth are. I'll talk about that when we get to that part of the video. She hears the clicking of the xenomorph again, and her brother is saying it's a trap. Remember, they're meant to be very intelligent so they can lay traps for people like this. Notice it stuck him in a temperature-controlled meat locker too, which just seems like him trying to keep his body nice and fresh, because ultimately, like if this trap were going to work, it would take both of them, like basically destroy her because she can't be used to implant things in, but also then take her brother back to the egg so that he can be used to incubate another xenomorph. That's the whole idea, that it doesn't want to kill everybody, like it wants to grab as many people as possible to use them as incubators for more xenomorphs. That is the job of a drone. She gets a bit of a tutorial on xenomorphs on the fly during this fight, like it's acid blood, she stabs it through the roof like, what the hell is this? Then they treat the fight in a cool kind of way from the brothers' perspective so that it seems more like a couple superheroes and supervillains fighting because they both have superhuman abilities, speed and strength, the xenomorph and Wendy. With the big payoff twist joke, some of you probably saw this coming, when the door shuts and she gets locked behind it, the whole idea is that the xenomorph is trapped in there with her, not the other way around, her being trapped with it. She literally just chops its head right off.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me!
You can also tell that she's a little bit shaken by the experience just because a lot of this is brand new to her. She's still very surprised by it. They say later that Kirsch also put her into shutdown mode to help protect her further. Kind of like putting your computer into hibernate state. I also think this fight is the first time we've actually seen someone try to take out an alien using its little mouth, like she jabs that giant hook through its little mouth. Maybe that's just a twist on the idea that it was about to get her brother with its little mouth, like I'm gonna get you with your little mouth. You do actually see a little bit of synthetic blood coming off her, that white blood. We see it coming off of Ash during the Alien movies too, and the other synths. The whole idea here, though, is that she'll be totally fine. Basically, mechanical body, you repair it like you would repair a computer. A little bit harder to repair her brother, though. Although there's some twists with that at the end of the episode, too, because remember, they have to borrow one of his lungs for their little experiment to create another xenomorph. We go back to Slightly, who finds the husk from a chestburster. I think it's meant to be the xenomorph that Wendy just killed. Like, there's not 7 xenomorphs now, potentially. There's the 6 eggs in the 1 xenomorph that Wendy just killed. Love the way they play the tension here too, with them getting dangerously close to the eggs. I don't think we've ever seen if they can implant eggs inside synthetics, but I think the way they portray it here, they cannot, because they get really, really close to the eggs, and the eggs do not budge an inch. But the minute that Morrow, who is a human, like a cyborg with a bunch of human parts, gets even near one of the eggs, it starts going wild. So it seems like all the synthetics in the hybrids are totally safe from the eggs and the facehuggers. Morrow then gets the drop on them and slowly begins to learn their secret, that they are hybrids. They're like real people's minds put in synthetic bodies, and uses this later in the episode to try and find a way back to the Neverland Ranch to recover the specimens. Notice that he uploads all the ship's data to his brain. That must be a lot of hard drive space that he has in his brain. All to keep Prodigy from getting it, so it's like a copy-paste situation, like wipe the data from the ship while he's uploading it to his brain. Notice that he talks about the remorse he feels over his actions previously, letting his crew die horribly without doing anything to save them, but because he's a cyborg, he's robotic enough that he's got this base programming forcing him to do certain things, but enough human parts, like enough of him is human, that he can still experience emotions like remorse, regret, sorrow, and fear, more importantly, because he said in previous episodes that fear was what the aliens tracked. They're the things they come for. So as long as you show no fear, you might be safe. Like, you might be safe. Doesn't mean they won't eventually try to kill you, just means that it might save your life for a little while. Here's the thing though, he asked the Lost Boys about their own morality. Would you follow orders blindly the way that Morrow did, or would you do what is right to protect the people that you care about? In the way they talk about it, they would actually act to protect people they care about. I think this is also more foreshadowing for what's happening with, say, like Nib's storyline, where she's slowly beginning to freak out. Like, some of the hybrids are starting to show that they might rebel against some of the orders that they're given. The other really important background detail here too is that when he's uploading all the data from the ship, you hear a voice for the mother supercomputer, which is pretty rare. I don't know who was playing that voice, but it didn't sound familiar. Kurz then shows up, saving the hybrids from Morrow, who seems like he's about to try and kill them to get the information out of them. Almost winds up running afoul of a facehugger and then takes off running. There's a little time jump to them cleaning out the ship. They grabbed all 5 specimens, all 6 eggs, the body of the dead Xenomorph, and take it all back to Neverland for research. On the ship, notice Nibs continues to slowly freak out, like mentally she seems like she's just checking out completely. Maybe this is going to get worse in the next couple of episodes. And once they get all the creatures in containment, Boy Cavalier notices the winged alien bug first, then the bloodsucker, then the Xenomorph egg, and I love the way that he just puts his face right up to it, and Kirsch only barely saves his life by just yanking him back, having to explain how they work. Like, no, they respond to organic life. The minute you get close, boom, you're done for.
I saw it earlier with the security officer.
When the kids then ask if they're in trouble, they imply they've done something. The idea is that the security officer, Morrow, has since figured out the secret that they are hybrids. They're people inside synthetic bodies, and he's going to tell Yutani. There are a couple other important details, too, I think heightening the tension between the hybrids in the administration. All the kids did not know that they could record everything that they're seeing, which are probably going to make things worse between their relationship worse. Also, the idea that there's a giant window where they can be watched at all times, like rats in a cage, kind of like the specimens that are all in cages being watched. We find out that Morrow escaped and is contacting Yutani. They reveal he's much older and was hired by Yutani's grandmother, who was also called Yutani because it's their last name. That's just the way they refer to them. And because the ship's mission was over 65 years. And at the beginning of the series, we're hitting the end of that 65 years. The older Yutani who hired him is now dead and her granddaughter has taken over the company. Also remember that Weyland is now on his trip during the events of the Prometheus movie. So that's in the middle of going on right now. We don't know if he's already died or he's still alive just in cryostasis at the moment, but Yutani is controlling the company on Earth now. They kind of play this scene a little bit like Ripley when she came back to Earth's orbit in the Aliens movie and learned what happened to her daughter. Like, you've been cryo for a long time, so everybody you knew has either aged up or died at some point. You notice behind him during the call, there's an old kung fu movie playing, I think to imply the future battles that they will have on the show. He kind of rebels against her, saying that he's not coming in until he can recover the specimens from Neverland. He's got a way in, and that way in is slightly. He's going to gaslight slightly to find a way to where Neverland is. Like, first find out where it's located, and then find a way to the island. We go back to Boy Cavalier, who's building something with Legos. You can let me know what you think it is. I think it's just meant to be a tower of some kind, but you can let me know what you think which tower it is. He talks to Curly about Wendy being his favorite, and they have this whole conversation about why she thinks she's the best hybrid because she does have ambitions that Wendy does not have, which also pays off a moment from episode 2 where Boy Cavalier was saying the whole reason for this whole endeavor creating these hybrids was to create somebody interesting enough that he could talk to, somebody that was more intelligent than him. She implies that that's going to be her. Like, he says, I got a couple books that I want you to read, some recordings to listen to, then we'll play and have some fun. Like, then maybe he will get to have that conversation that he wanted to have with the more intelligent being. So it kind of seems like there's this competition brewing between the different hybrids in the way that little kids love to compete. Everybody loves to compete in general, not just little kids, adults love to compete too. One of the other cool details they reveal here too is that she can learn things instantly just by having them uploaded to her brain, kind of like Neo during the Matrix movies, like they taught him Kung Fu just by uploading Kung Fu lessons to his brain. There's another line they pay off from episode 1 too, the whole idea that this procedure for hybrids only works on children because adults' brains are too sticky. It's all about this conversation that he has, why prodigies are children by definition, because their minds are open to limitless possibilities, limitless potential. Basically the idea that adults' minds at a certain point become more closed off, less open to new ideas. The way he talks about it, he says limitless possibilities, limitless potential. This all seems like it's really cool story potential, but if you remember, none of the Alien movies that take place further forward in the timeline, or even like the Predator movies that take place further forward in the timeline, ever reference the concept of hybrids. So what happens here that leads to that possibility? Do all the hybrids get wiped out? Do they just abandon this technology? Do they do something to erase all knowledge that they exist? Hopefully the show can run like 4 or 5 seasons and they will just dig into this a little bit deeper.
The world, how to make it better. I have ideas.
It's sort of like the Star Wars Grogu problem. Like, where was Grogu when a lot of the Star Wars movies were happening? Well, they had to explain he was off hiding somewhere in the Outer Rim because they didn't create the character till after they had made most of these movies. Slightly then seems like he's watching the movie Mub and Grub. Follow the Slime also feels like a reference to the alien goo that it secretes. Morrow then hacks the Prodigy servers somehow, like he just has that technology available to him to communicate with Slightly, continuing their conversation and slowly gaslighting him into finding a way back to the Neverland Island. Like, first he needs to find out where it is, then he needs to get there. Pretty easy to assume that it's going to be Slightly who lets him in the front door once he does arrive. Like, could you just take the security measures down for a minute so that I can get in and we can just have some fun together? Warning bells everywhere, stranger danger, do not open your front door for somebody that you do not know. While he's talking to Slightly, there's an article on the board in front of him that talks about the 5 major companies vying for control of Earth. So remember, we only heard about a couple of them in the first episode. Now there's Threshold, Weyland Yutani, who we know about from the previous Alien movies, Dynamic, Lynch, and the Prodigy company, which we've also just learned about recently. The article says that there used to only be 3 companies, now there are 5, vying for dominance. Lower in the article, there's also mention of a war in South America that just happened. There's discovery of important resources that they used to make a lot of their technology. Morrow then reveals that he had a daughter. It's not clear if she's an old woman now or if she's since died. Then Nibs really starts having more freakouts, hallucinating things, walking through the corridors in the middle of the night. She sees that same dude in the hazmat suit from the first couple episodes that's spraying that same cell constantly. Like, what is in there that he needs to keep spraying all the time, and why is he the only one in a hazmat suit? Wendy then wakes up, and as she becomes conscious, notice she hears a sound like a radio tuning in on high-pitched frequencies, like it's the sound of a radio turning on. It sounds like she can hear the Xenomorph eggs communicating that clicking sound, but she can also hear the click-clacking of all the other 5 alien species, all making the own sounds that they typically make, the way that they communicate. There are a lot of species on Earth that can detect higher frequencies. Cats are a really good example of that. Maybe her ears are just cat level. Then Kirsch and some of the hybrids start to extract a facehugger from one of the eggs to study it and to implant the new chestburster in CJ, her brother's, lung. Probably one of the most important things here too is that when they start to extract the facehugger to study it, Wendy seems like she's connected to it, like she can feel its pain almost like in a sympathetic way, or maybe it's just the cries of pain that it and the other eggs are emitting because they have this hive mind shared situation are just so painful to her that that's what causes her to collapse. But it does seem like she has some weird connection to them where she can communicate with them. Love the way they also juxtapose these scenes of them operating on the alien egg on the facehugger and the doctors taking out her brother's body parts, because, as they reveal later, they're going to use the lung from him to implant the new chestburster. There are a couple other important details in the background here too, like notice how he uses the electrode to shock the facehugger. Very effective weapons against the Xenomorphs because it's just like Morrow's gun against the bigger Xenomorph. Now it feels like a disservice that a lot of people get sent into battle against Xenomorphs, especially in the Aliens movie later in the timeline, without all these electrical weapons. Wendy then collapses on the ground from the shock of both the sounds of the cries of the alien eggs and probably just seeing what's happening here, like she just completely freaks out. And it seems like shortly we will get ourselves another Xenomorph, like eventually a chestburster is going to come out of that lung. Then true to form, they picked another metal song for the end credits, another cool 90s metal song, classic Metallica Black Album, Wherever I May Roam. This was actually one of the first CDs that I ever owned. This video also reminded me that I need to buy some more Metallica shirts because all the ones that I do have are either from high school with holes in them or they're in deep storage somewhere. We will see if they continue the theme through the rest of the episodes, and there's always some kind of metal song that they close the episode with. Like, what goes harder than Metallica? There's so much going on during this episode. If there are any other Easter eggs and references that you spotted that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. In my full episode 4 video, we'll post next week after they release it. They also might be releasing trailers for the next episodes. If they do release an episode 4 trailer, I might do a video for that in the next couple days when they release it. The really big reminder, too, is the Peacemaker episodes will start later this week. I'll be doing weekly episode videos for that, too, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss anything. And we just got a brand new trailer for Fallout Season 2. Click here for that, and click here for all my other Alien episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.